Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you all for coming. For those who haven't met me, I don't know where you've been. My name's Kelly Gordon. I am your lead. I took over for Tony, who did a fantastic job getting us started. Some of the things we still have with us still have Tony's name on them. We are going to try to keep this to about an hour. We do have the room reserved, however, for 2 hours. So if anybody wants to stick around afterwards, ask any additional questions, and anybody has to leave, feel free to do that, okay? Again, this is being recorded, and a link will be sent to everyone to see it again. Those of you who aren't here, obviously, you'll get all the information as well. Okay? With us today, we have Lieutenant Cooley, Public Safety. Woo-hoo! We have the Fire Chief here from Higgins, Chief Good. And, let me mispronounce your name, Sergeant Bingham.
Yes.
Yes! From Nevada County, our Neighborhood Watch guru. Okay, so these will be the people you can ask the question of today. I know we're going to focus a lot on fire from this, the smoke we're seeing out there and everything. I mean, that's tops on everybody's minds. We do have a couple bags with us for those people who don't have their bags yet. I think there's at least 3 people here though that need them, but we will get you one. And Lieutenant Cooley here is the person to see for those.
I have them coming down right now. I have them coming down right now, so
Awesome.
those that need them will get them today.
Okay, good. We are going to do what we can to get everybody's radios fixed, and I have one that beeps at me all the time too, and talks and does all that stuff, so mine needs fixed as well, so I get it, okay? The other thing is, at some point today, if you could, come up to our visual map here, take one of the red pins, and place it at your address. I want the red pins for the captains, so we have a visual, we can kind of see who we have and what we need. Up until yesterday, this was done, and you were all on there. But my cat obviously likes red pins. She took every one of them out. Was that recorded? So now there's, the only red pins in there are the ones you've just put in there. So at some point, if you would do that, I'd greatly appreciate not making me do it again. You can pick another color if you want and place for the homes that you're covering, the addresses that you're covering. That would be helpful as well, so we know. I have a lot of people getting a hold of me through social media and just texting in general, asking who their captain is. And usually it's those are the people who don't have a captain, so we're trying to work on that in different areas. We do not have nearly enough, so if you know anybody that might be interested, that would be great. Tell them how wonderful this is and easy it is to do. That would be wonderful, okay? Okay, I'm not going to keep rattling on. Stephanie, Lieutenant Cooley, if you'd like to talk about the radios and the bullhorns, that would be great.
Okay, so when you guys first signed up for Neighborhood Watch, I know it was quick, and I had you guys come down to the office to get your bags. I kind of ran through everything really quick and kind of showed you what to use and how to use them. I'm going to run over it again really quickly, just in case you guys need to know. And then I have John, our communications guy from Banner Communications, he's going to come down and try and reprogram the radios that are beeping and making that continuous noise so they don't do that.
Just so some people over here have a visual, I'm going to borrow this bag.
That's fine.
Just to see if
So in your bag, you should have, if you brought your bags, you should have a radio and a charger for that radio. The radios will be on channel 1. That's the channel you should have them on. It's already on there. If you haven't moved the knob, it goes all the way counterclockwise. It shouldn't go any further.
When the radio is charged, how long will it stay charged before you plug it in?
You know, you can leave it in the charger. You can leave it in the charger on all the time. It shouldn't be an issue. If it's making noise, that's why we have John coming here, so he can help not make it help so it doesn't make the noise that it was making. But you should be able to leave it on in your charger the whole time. It shouldn't be an issue. And that way you can hear if there is something going on or whatever. And there should be no communication on that channel unless there's an emergency, and you will hear it from either myself or whoever gets the notification prior to me. I don't live in the community, unfortunately, anymore, and so I don't get the notifications unless I'm here. Or I happen to be actively searching, but sometimes I like to take days off and I don't always look at my phone. But anyway, so you'll have the radio, you'll have your mic, your bullhorn. It'll have a charger and a connector and a battery in here for the bullhorn, okay? You will also have a yellow vest that is labeled Neighborhood Watch. In the case there's an emergency, please wear this so people don't think you're just crazy running around yelling, there's an emergency. Make sure that they know you are actually with the Neighborhood Watch team and you are actually been informed and this is what's really happening, okay? Not everybody has social media, not everybody has email or computers or smartphones or whatever. Hard to believe in this day and age, but it's true, okay? So, like I said, the radios will be on channel 1. The only thing you guys will need to do is turn on the volume or the power button. You'll hear it power on. And in order to communicate, you just push the black button. Don't worry about the orange buttons. Power. That's what you turn it on and off with. You communicate with the black button, holding it down. You'll have to wait like a second because I'm sure there's a delay. Speak into it clearly. Don't panic. You try to remain calm in the emergency situation. I know that may be hard, but just do the best you can. Yes, Keith?
Is it just to other neighborhood watch captains, or is it like
So if there is an emergency, public safety can communicate with you on these radios. And at that point, I probably would if I were here, or whoever's in my office will communicate with you. But yes, this is for the neighborhood watch captains. It's not to be like, hey, are you coming? You know, it's not like that. This is like, hey, we've evacuated this location and we're good. You know what I mean, or whatever. So, yeah, right. Yeah, do you hear me? Yeah, no. You coming over later? It's nothing like that, okay? It's just strictly for that purpose. But the bullhorn is in here. The battery needs to be charged for those of you that did not charge yours prior to any of this. I would charge them every fire season just to be safe. That they plug into this little port here. I'm sure any square will work. It's a standard USB port. You plug it in. I'm sure you can plug it into your computer if that's all you're on. It just gets plugged into the wall. It'll show a symbol that it's charging. It has to be in the input mode to charge, meaning it's receiving the energy. When you're ready to put it into the bullhorn, it goes into output mode. You plug it into the USB port in here.
Does everybody understand what she's saying? Anybody need us to give you a...
This one's probably dead. It's turned down. I'm sorry, can you hear me now? Sorry, the volume was turned down. The volume is on the right-hand side. If you don't want to speak into it like this, you can actually take this off.
I didn't do
You
it.
can actually take this off. You can wear this bullhorn if you need to and talk this way, and it'll work just the same.
You look really cool if you do it.
Yeah, it has the shoulder strap. You're more than welcome to do that and wear that around and yell whatever you have to. But anyway.
Make sure you mention where the toggle needs to be on the side, the controls on the side.
Oh, these here?
There's things to happen. Yeah.
Just to talk into it, it has to be on speak, which is right in the center, okay? And what we were talking about before, like if we do have an active evacuation, we would say, this is your neighborhood watch committee, team, you know, whatever we are, neighborhood captains, team cap, whatever we're called. Anyway, and you would state, we have been advised that we have to evacuate. This is your warning to evacuate. Please do so now. And then you can activate your siren at that point.
Or something to that effect.
Something to that nature. If you have to say like, I'm your neighborhood watch captain, get out now, please, this is an emergency and we've been told to evacuate. So whatever you have to say evacuation or whatever the emergency is at that time. Try to remain calm because when you get excited, it may not come across clearly and people won't understand. But they will understand the international siren for evacuation. It's the high-low siren. We've programmed them on every one of these bullhorns. When you're ready to set that off, you can leave it in your driveway, you can drive out with it, you can hang it on your door, whatever you want to do. You click it to siren, or excuse me, USB SD, which is forward. You just push it forward, it'll activate the siren. I won't do it because it's loud and I did it by accident just a minute ago. But anyway, it'll activate that. You can leave it in your driveway or drive out of the community with it hanging out your window. It doesn't, whichever, take it with you. I would turn it off once you leave the community, but that is the international sign for the evacuation. We have them programmed on every one of our patrol vehicles now as well, so that when we do have a situation, we can notify you guys as well with our sirens. That is all I have on this. Anything else?
Any quick questions on that? So again, like she said at the end, we don't expect anybody, just because we've given you these, we don't expect you to risk your life, okay? You don't have to go knocking door to door. The whole point of this is, like she said, you can hang this over on your, you can hang it on your porch, turn on the siren, get out. You could hang it out your car window, unless you break it, and just have it bang it on your horn as you're heading out. If you have more time, it's something where then whatever methods you have for getting hold of your neighborhoods, different people have different things set up. You could use those methods and help your neighbors get out. And then as you're heading out again, you can have this thing going off, the high-low siren. You can be banging on your horn. You can be screaming, whatever you got to do, because if it gets to that point, it doesn't, just do everything you can, obviously, to help your neighbors get out of here. And we do have, as you'll see, as this fills up, it's not going to fill up, that's the problem. There are a lot of neighborhoods not covered. So if you've got this and you're heading out of here, you're going on different streets or don't have captains, this is a wonderful thing to help those neighborhoods who unfortunately don't have a captain there to help them at the time, okay?
And if you're gonna leave it, if you're gonna set it down and leave, make sure it's facing out. The sound will carry further and more people will hear it. But I would, if you guys have friends in other neighborhoods where you see there are not, captains and there's obvious blank areas on our map, I would reach out to them. This isn't, we're not asking you to carry everybody out of the neighborhood. We're asking you just to notify people. And I know that I got a lot of phone calls, especially after that fire that was close by. Fortunately, we have great teams in the area that got it out quickly. But people were like, what do we do? What do we do? Join the neighborhood watch team. Help notify our community, because this is a huge community and there's a lot of people and it's widespread. We can't notify everybody. Public safety cannot notify everybody. It's going to have to be, we're going to have people take charge of the community. This is our community and we're going to want to save it. So, let those people know. If you see that there's an area and you have people there that let them know. Be a part of this. Help us out.
Another thing we have here in Lake the Pines, and unfortunately we haven't had a class in a while because, I don't know, maybe we can get somebody here to help us with that because of the whole COVID situation, is we do have CERT teams, which is CERT, which stands for Community Emergency Response Teams. It's unfortunately a very small part of our community, but it is something we would like to grow with members. It is a class you take. Unfortunately, it's like 6, say like Wednesday evenings for 3 hours, and you're certified, which means you are trained to help your neighbors in the event of a natural disaster. Obviously, the biggest natural disaster for us in this neighborhood would first of all be wildfire. Second of all, it could be an earthquake. So if that's something you might be interested in, or someone who might be interested in, watch for that, and we'll try to see if we can't get somebody to help us get another CERT class going in our neighborhoods. Okay, so just watch for that. One of these guys, okay? The last thing is, anybody who is a member, neighborhood watch captain, and lives near one of the exit gates, except for the main one, you also should have gotten bolt cutters, okay? Again, in the middle of the night here, it's 2 in the morning. Stephanie, how many public safety officers do we have on duty?
2 in the morning, I still have 2. I still have 2 officers. After 2 in the morning, I have 1.
So they're not going to be able to open up. They're not going to be able to open up all those emergency gates. Is my point.
Right.
They're not going to
So
get to them. They
if
can't.
you're close to the gate, cut the locks. I can almost guarantee somebody's going to drive through it before you get there with the bolt cutters. But you know what I mean. If you're there and you're able to do it, please do it. Because public safety can't hit both sides of the lakes at the same time when there's one guy. And if there's going to be a wildfire that we're not aware of, it's going to be in the middle of the night, unfortunately. So just be ready. If you're living by it and you have those in your go bag, just be out there to do it.
And fire and police, if they're going to be out there either directing traffic or fighting fires, they may or may not be able to get to those gates before us.
Not
So
sure.
the whole point of this, and the whole point of all of us, is we are extra eyes, extra ears, extra hands to help these guys do their jobs. Okay, and to help our neighbors get out of here safely, if that's what we need. Okay?
So in talking about the gates and just randomly going ahead and cutting the locks or the chain and opening the gate, that's, if it's a fast moving fire, I don't have a problem with that per se. And with Zone Haven, which is, I call the surgical evacuation mode that we go into, it's going to be important. If you decide to go out that gate, or you're telling people to go outside that gate, we don't want you pushing them into where the fire is coming from. And we have only a few routes out of here to begin with. And obviously, you know, we have evacuation gates at the west, the north, and kind of the northeast. There's nothing in the southwest. That's why Zone Haven is going to be a good tool for law enforcement to evacuate this zone or this zone first or whatever. So we can do it. I run scenarios in my head every time I drive by here. Well, how am I going to get 2,000 cars out safely? Well, if it's a paradise fire, probably not. You know, unfortunately, you know, people may die only because it's going to be tough to get all those cars out if everybody leaves at once. That's why paying attention to the advisements to evacuate, that's the time to go. You know, you can imagine, you know, on a busy weekend like 4th of July, the nightmare traffic there is. And if we're trying to, you know, push all those cars out the main gate, then we got to worry about where do they go from there. But it all depends on where the fire is coming from. So if the fire is coming from the ranchos, nobody should be opening that Oro Valley gate. You know, as an example, our typical wind patterns and stuff, it's going to be from the southwest or it's going to be from the north. The north is the worst case scenario. You know, we might not be able to get a lot of people out before the fire gets here from the north, which means right across the street. Okay, and the embers are going to be dropping in and so on and so forth.
Where is that considered? Where's north? In the front.
Here's one from here.
North is that way.
Yes, the front gate.
Is the gate?
But front gate is north.
Right, only for the school, right?
Yeah. So a scenario is, so if we put these together, from what Lieutenant and the Chief are saying is, so you've got your radios on, it's now 3 in the morning, so there's only one public safety officer on, and your radio goes off. There's a fire, you know, 10 miles away, you know, now's the time to start getting your people out, and do not open the Oro gate. They might come out and just say that. Keep that in mind, pay attention to that. So that would come across your radios. So that's something that you can use these for as you're going. As you tell people to evacuate, just say, the Oro Valley gate is not to be open. The Oro Valley gate is not open. Do not try to go out the Oro Valley gate. That's something, just repeat it. Evacuate, but do not go out the Oro Valley. Something like that, okay? Again, there's no perfect script for this. You say what you need to say to help people.
Right.
Say it in common person terms.
Well, and if you guys know where you're going, this is why I say make sure you have your yellow vest on. People are going to follow you when they know that you are legitimately who you say you are. I'm a neighborhood watch captain. We've been told to evacuate. Please follow me to your club to the exit. You know, something along those lines. They're going to follow the yellow vest. They're not going to go like, I know a shortcut. You know what I mean? There's only so many ways out of here. So if you're not going to the Oro Valley gate, they're going to, you know, people are going to know why. So make sure you're, you know, that you keep these on.
Yes, please, jump in.
All right, so for all of you guys that don't remember, my name is Mike Bingham, obviously with the Sheriff's Office. Does everybody here, are you guys aware of Code Red and Zone Haven? The county's done a huge push. Those are great tools for law enforcement and fire to effectuate evacuations. Remember the phrasing, ready, set, go, right? At this time of year, you guys should all be ready to go. You should know where your documents are that you want to take if you need medications. If you get an evacuation advisory, that might be the time where you move into set mode, right? Do I need to evacuate right now? In a community like this, that's a decision up to you guys. You know, obviously there are what we would call choke points for traffic to get out of here. There's only 2 warnings that you guys are going to get from the Sheriff's Office, and that's an evacuation warning and an evacuation order. Okay, a warning is there's a fire in the area or there's some sort of exigent emergency in the area. You guys might want to think about loading up and going. We're not giving the order, but we're giving an advisement, right? So if you are mobility impaired or you have a neighbor that's mobility impaired, that might take a little bit more time to get ready to leave. That might be the time where you guys consider leaving. The order is just that. We've spoken with the fire department and we've made the determination that there is an imminent threat and that we are asking people to leave at that point in time. make sure, it's a big push. I would encourage you guys to make sure your neighbors are aware. The areas that you guys are, it sounds like block captains here are responsible for neighborhoods or whatnot. Make sure your neighbors know about Zone Haven. Make sure they know about Code Red. Make sure they're signed up to get those notifications. That's going to be your notification from us. If people don't have cell phones or they don't have landline phones, your next line of communication would be the radio, right? KVMR is a great resource for our community. You can tune into their radio station. They will run those evacuations as well as Ubinet. Okay, so if you have a computer or a smartphone, you can also go to Ubinet, and they update fairly rapidly as well. Just kind of keep that in mind. The Zone Haven is great. Make sure you know your zones. There has been some questions. One of the questions that came up when I was first contacted for this meeting is, why wasn't the community notified of a fire that was outside the gate, right? And understandably, that's a point of concern. Just because you have Zone Haven and Code Red doesn't mean that you're going to get notified, right? That's a decision that's made game time between the fire, IC, or the incident commander and law enforcement. Is there an issue? Do we need to start thinking about evacuations? Law enforcement and fire, we have a great relationship. You know, the last 5-7 years, we've really started morphing out which zones, right? The community's broken up in so many zones. Theoretically, Lake of the Pines may only have part of it given an evacuation order or an evacuation warning. If it's a fire in the ranchos and they're just kind of concerned about it, not totally concerned, it may just be the western part of Lake of the Pines that gets that notification. So.
And do we have 4 zones or more?
You would have to look on Zone Haven. Four zones is what I'm being told here. So, and for your neighbors, it sounds like everybody here, the county has done a huge push on the Zone Haven and the Code Red, getting that information out. But if people aren't aware of it, you can go to mynevadacounty.com, scroll down, I think it's at the bottom, there's wildfire safety. You click on that, you can just follow the links and you can get signed up for Zone Haven and Code Red. You can set it up. Sure.
On top of that, you guys, the new gate access system also has a warning notification system. So if you guys are not on that, or your people are not on that, encourage them to join that. There's a notification system. We've sent out a mass notification before to do a test. If you guys don't get it and Sean gets it, the general manager, or myself, or one of the other administrators, they can get in there and they can issue that warning as well. So you may not get it from Code Red first, you might get it from us. So if you're not on those either, join them, join the gateaccess.net one, and be a part of that notification system too. Make sure your information is accurate in there on all of those sites, so that you don't miss those notifications.
Like the sergeant was saying, if you have folks in your neighborhood that you know are going to need extra help getting out, and there's anything happening, those are people you might want to at least talk to and say, look, they haven't given us the order yet. I don't want anybody to panic, but since it might take you a while to do whatever, gather up medical supplies or just physically get from point A to point B, those might be people that you might want to say, you might want to head out, start that process, and then if it's nothing, they can come home. But at least a couple things. One, they're out safely, and they may have taken an hour to do that. But 2, that's one less car, and now we've only got 1,999 cars to get out.
So the other point that I would say, and I'll get to your question in just a second, are you guys aware that there's evacuation tags as well, right? So it's usually, I don't know, the Siggins have tags they hand out. So what we ask residents, if there's time and you're evacuating, say we're speaking of your own household right now, if you're evacuated, Nevada County has designed evacuated tags, right? So if you hang that on a mailbox or something, your front door, some way to notify law enforcement that you have evacuated. When there's evacuations, one of the things that we do is we try to go door to door, right? And what you guys are doing is a great help for us, because we may only have a handful of deputies and we're trying to contact 2,000 homes, right? So it's a daunting task. What might help, or what will help, is if you evacuate, hang that tag so we know when we look at your front door, we don't need to waste time going and knocking again to see if anybody is home, and then going to the neighbor's house. Those tags are free to hand out. If the fire department needs some more, I can get some more down here. Perhaps the public safety has some to hand out as well. But that's a wonderful resource too that we ask people to use if there's time to put in a very noticeable location. In this community, you don't really have the rural mailboxes, so a lot of times when you see the unincorporated areas outside of this big community, we ask to hang it on a gate or the mailbox that's right at the foot of the driveway. Here, maybe the front door, something very conspicuous so that we know that we don't have to spend our time at your house and we can go on to the next house. What's that?
Hang them on the address tags.
Yeah, however it is, that way it's easily visible.
Yeah, easiest, I would say that if we have a couple of those tags up at the front gate, I don't have a whole lot right now, you guys, but I can give some to whoever needs them immediately. I'm sure I can get more from the guys, as they said, but I would hang it on your address marker out front. It's the easiest as you're heading out, throw it on there, then they don't even have to stop, they know. They just can continue down the street, keep going, they don't have to worry about that house.
Ma'am, did you have a question?
Yeah, so I'm the block captain for Woodhaven, which is quite a few homes. And as I talked about this program of evacuations, and even the sergeant said, if it's coming from the north, it may be tough to get out of Lake Pines. My question, and the response I get from a lot of people is, we're going in the water. We're going to go to our backyards, or we're going to go to the parks. We're going to get in the water, we're going to be fine. What should I say to these folks? Because I didn't think that worked out well for some of our neighbor communities when people went to the water.
Also, the golf course. What do you think about going to the golf course or the water?
That may be a question more so for the chief here, but I'll tell you, I think that should be a very last resort.
What they're saying is when you get the initial, this is not an order, this is a suggestion. That you tell people, this is a warning, we've been told to evacuate. We should evacuate. Don't go like, oh, I'm waiting till I get the order.
So we do have a process for analyzing what's going on. The biggest problem is, the fires that start at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're fast movers. So if you have something like a campfire Paradise, it had sustained winds of 50 miles an hour. A 50-mile-an-hour flame front is going to do some traveling. And it also causes more damage because the flames are going this way instead of this way. And trying to get that many people out, it's going to be tough. But we do have what they call shelter in place. A lot of presentations I've made, I've teased people about, hey, last resort, go to the water. Just get away from the vegetation. The other inherent problem, though, in staying there on the fairway is the smoke inhalation. So if it's coming from someplace like the Ranchos, you're going to get the smoke before you get the flame, obviously, and that could be debilitating. I think I can adopt a neighbor, with the demographics of Lake of the Pines and the surrounding areas. We have people that need help, just doing just regular stuff. So, check with the neighbors, check with people that are assigned to your captainship, and touch base with them and, kind of get to know what they're going to need. Are they going to need a wheelchair, an ambulance, whatever, or we'll throw them in the back of Mike's vehicle, or whatever, just to get them out. But it is going to be another daunting task, which fire and law enforcement work quite well in what we do. We've learned over many years, and many fires right here in Nevada County. But it's a 49er fire way back when, or the Jones fire here recently. But even, somebody was talking about the Burrow Road fire. That was a relatively, it was a kind of a mild day. It wasn't windy. If it would have been windier than it was, we probably would have been chasing a little bit longer. But they're lucky because the fire station's right there, fully manned, 2 engines, so on and so forth. And we had aircraft. As everybody realized, we have fire retardant aircraft at Grass Valley. So it's usually 2 air tankers and a helicopter from the Forest Service, and then 1 in Auburn. But our number 1 goal is to keep you safe, whether it's sheltering you in place or getting you out and then having law enforcement say, hey, turn left here. Because we're not going to let you turn right. So you really got emphasis to the people you talk to is follow the directions of law enforcement. You know, we only have, really two major arteries going out, one to the west and one to the east. We have some other little stuff that we can do, and you can go through the rock quarry up in Rutherford, we can put people out there. We have fire gates to the north, but that puts you like in Mount Sierra, and that's probably not a good place either. But, there is gonna, could be a fire from the north that's kind of a little landlock you, so we might have to do shelter. One thing to get out there and just look where the gates are. They're right.
Maybe that's something we can talk to admin about. A couple years ago, they had the activity. Tom, you did it. I know a few people did it where they just had you literally drive from gate to gate, and they did like a poker run or something.
Yeah.
Every gate you went to, you got a poker card, and it's like I don't know.
Price.
I didn't do it. But maybe we can have another activity if things can stay safely open again.
I would just echo what the chief said. Make sure you know your exits. Make sure your neighbors know your exits. That may be a great idea to have another event, or if there's a newsletter out there or an email blast. Have people, make sure people are aware. The time to find the exit is not in a time of emergency chaos. Sorry, this smoke is really good to me.
And you should have a map in your notebook, or even just a regular book when you moved in that has all the info. It has a map on it that actually has the gates highlighted in red, and it has the whole, like in the pines and stuff. So you can even just peruse that. At least you know the general direction. If they're telling you to go out Oral Valley or telling you to go out Sunset Ridge, at least you'll have some directionality.
And there's signs, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There are signs on Torrey Pines that point to every fire exit. They were put up by Fire Bells, put them up. They put them, was it Firewise? Fire Bells, I'm not sure. Whatever, one of them, one of the fires, put them up, and it'll point you to the direction. So if you're on Torrey Pines and you find yourself circling, there will be a sign, and it will say which one it is. I believe that Oral Valley is, Sunset Ridge is, I'll have to look at the numbers.
Oh, you mean
They're numbered 1, 2, and 3 for the fire gates. I'd have to get back to you guys. I can send that out in an email and ask Kelly to send that out, which number is which one, but they're all numbered. It'll say which it is. It'll say the number 1 fire gate is this direction, number 2 fire gate is this direction, and number 3 fire gate is that direction. But they're on Torrey Pines, and you'll see them. So if anything, just drive Torrey Pines and look for those signs. I'll tell you this, with the gateaccess.net, for example, when that went live, we asked all of our members to sign in and verify, make sure all of their information was accurate. We sent out a message and it was delayed. And the reason it was delayed is that people's information was not input correctly. Their phone numbers were missing a digit, or their email had a space in it where there wasn't supposed to be a space, or they put a 1 or a 3 instead of the @ sign. And it delayed everybody else's notification, because what it did is it kept trying to send, it kept trying to send, it kept trying to send, it kept trying to send. And then eventually it was like, okay, I'll move on to the next one. Kept trying to send, kept trying to send. And I want to say out of all the homes that were signed up for gate access at that time, which was not a lot of people, I had a list of probably 45 people whose emails and phone numbers I had to go in and correct myself after contacting them and verifying that this is what it was, so that when we did another mass notification, we didn't have that same delay. So remember that happens too. So when you're telling people, make sure your information is accurate when you're entering it, because that will bog down the cell phone carriers, that will bog down, because what happens is, I know for us with the gate access system, it's another program that is contracted with our program that sends out the notification. And so if things aren't accurate, it's going to slow it down. It's going to bog down our system. Just like any downloading notification, like you're going to download something on your computer, it's going to take time if you don't have the right information or you hit something wrong. It's the same information when you're trying to send all of that out. So just make sure your information is accurate and reiterate that over and over again. Check your phone numbers, check your email, make sure they're up to date. I can't tell you how many times I've gone in the system on a daily basis and the numbers aren't accurate.